Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Scary Spikes and this is Elite Dangerous, or you could probably have already told by now with the splash screen, but nevertheless, I wanted to show this game to you because a good buddy of mine, Shadow, was kind enough to buy me a copy of the game as well as a joystick to play it with. So big shout out to my buddy Shadow, thank you very, very much. I'm having a great time with this game and it's consuming, well, quite a lot of my free time, let's just put it that way. But I want to take this opportunity to show you the most important aspects of the game, and you're probably thinking, well, what could that be? Is it the trading? Is it the fighting? No, it's the main menu, and I know what you're thinking, this is going to be boring as fuck. Well, you're partially right, but the important thing to note is, especially if you're a new player, you do need to get an angle on some of the options in the menus here, otherwise you will not have a good experience in Elite Dangerous, and you'll probably leave the game for the wrong reasons. So the point of this video is to give you the absolute basic approach to the menus that are the most important and a very, very brief skimming over everything else. So if you haven't seen this before, be sure to watch it till the end. It's got a lot of good information. If you're a little bit more of a veteran player or you've gone through all the basics before, you could probably check out the videos to come, which will have further information about all the different things you can do in Elite Dangerous. So without further ado, let's get started. The first menu that we notice here in the main menu of the game is the training menu, and there are two options. There are training videos and training missions. If you're brand new, I would very, very highly recommend that you check out some of these training videos. They're essentially just links to YouTube videos, but they are created by the creators of the game, and they will give you a very, very good foundation upon which you can build with some very decent skills. So the ones that I would recommend would be basic flight, basic combat, docking, and of course travel. Now if you're going to be very, very frequently visiting stations and you want to learn a little bit more about all the different services, you can check out the Starport services here, as well as galaxy and system maps. That will actually be very helpful for everybody. If you're going to be playing with a lot of people, more so multiplayer than single player, you can check out Wings. And of course, if you're more into the political side and doing trading or fighting for power with other factions, then the power play would be beneficial for you. And of course, last but not least, is the arena style close quarters combat that you get with the CQC Championship. If you want more information on that, go ahead and check that out. And once you've seen those videos, make sure to go into training missions, and these will actually give you the hands-on training compared to the videos that you watched earlier. Very, very important, especially with the docking and the fighting. Those are going to be the two things that you do the most. Moving on, let's go into the start menu. In the start menu, we have several different options here, from open play, private group, solo play, and CQC Championship. Now I'm going to go over each of these very, very quickly. If you've played any kind of game like this in the past, then you're probably very familiar with open play. Open play essentially entails being in a galaxy of 400 billion star systems or so, which is quite a lot, with a lot of other players. So whether they're good, they're bad, it doesn't matter. It's a cutthroat universe and anything and everything goes. This is where a lot of the action is, and if you're a little bit more of a seasoned player, you'll be right at home here. If you're a little bit newer to all this, you probably want to get some practice in either private group or solo play. So what are these, you might be asking? Well, private group is something that allows you to create a group of your own or join a group of your friends and play and share the galaxy with only members of that particular group. This is good news because if you're going ratting, as you would know if you've played EVE Online, or killing pirates for the rest of us, or doing anything else in the galaxy, you don't have to worry about competing with other people except for the people in your group. And of course, since you'll be playing cooperatively, it doesn't really matter. It gives you an edge where you can basically take advantage of the free space and do as you like. And of course, there's also solo play. So if you don't have any friends to play with, or your friends are at work or at school or doing other things, and you just want to pop in for a few hours of Elite, and you don't want to deal with everybody else, you can go into solo play. Solo play is exactly as it sounds. You basically play just by yourself. Of course, the galaxy will be populated by a bunch of different traders, police, pirates, and various other people that will be controlled by AI. So you'll be playing against those, but essentially you will be the only human player in the galaxy. Keep in mind, though, that anything that happens in open play or private or solo play will basically affect the galaxy as a whole. So whatever you do, whether it's killing guys, doing missions for power play, and fighting with other factions, if you're a trader and you're moving a supply to a demand location, all of those actions, no matter which mode you are in, affect the galaxy in a big way. and they all reflect every single game mode. So if you start in solo play and you, let's say, do something of decent scale and proportions, that will actually carry over to anything else that you play, whether you go to private group or open play. So you got to keep in mind that your actions have consequences, and you can't exactly just log out and log back in on a different server and expect that the things you did before will have no ramifications or repercussions. With that being said, it also has a very positive part of that, because essentially if you log out at a certain station during open play, when you log back in group or private play or solo play as it's called here, you'll be able to essentially take off from where you left off. So that's really cool, and it's part of the game that I really like. And of course there's the CQC Championship, and there are some some pieces of advice there as to what kind of training you should have taken in order to do reasonably well here. And of course there's the CQC Basics, the Flight Basics, and the Combat Basics. If you're new, make sure to go ahead and check those out. Now let's go on to the next menu. Friends and private groups. Now I'm not actually going to go into this menu because I do have some names in here that I would prefer not to disclose, upon their request of course, but in either case, going into this menu allows you to create or join a private group, whether this is a group of 3 or 4 of your closest buds or a giant client somewhere on the interwebs. This allows you essentially, like I said before, to play only with those people. And as long as you go into group or a private play within the start menu, you'll be able to play with anyone who is also in that mode and in the same group as you. Reporting a player is fairly easy. If you've ever run into anybody in open play that gave you a hard time for all the wrong reasons, you're able to report this here. Anything from spamming to being obscene, abusive, criminal, which hopefully doesn't happen, hacking or otherwise, you're able to report it all here in pretty decent detail, as well as providing the time and date of the occurrence, and I'm sure the devs take that into account. And of course, the most important one, the options menu. Let's get a little bit in depth on that. So in the options menu, you have graphics, audio, controls, and clear save. Now this one is a little touchy, and you got to be very careful with this. What this does is it clears your save data for your account. So it's going to wipe everything, including your commander. All the ships you've accumulated, all the money that you've made will be gone, and you will start brand new in a 32,000 credit Sidewinder like nothing ever happened. So be very careful, and do not clear your save under any circumstances, unless of course you want to start off brand new. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the graphic settings, although there are quite a number of options here, but you can choose so as they apply to your system. And of course, same goes with audio, although audio is a little bit more in-depth because you get to choose all the audio cues that you get and whether you want to get them or not. So pretty straightforward there. The controls is where it's going to get pretty much down to the nitty-gritty of making sure that you have a great experience. Now I know this looks extremely overwhelming, and trust me, it made me want to rip my hair out the first time I saw this. This is an absolutely absurd amount of controls, but it's a very good thing because it allows you to fine-tune your experience in the way that will make it more enjoyable for you. So here is basically my advice if you're using a joystick. If you're using a joystick, you want to see, preferably in solo play, how your ship responds to very minute impacts on your movements of the joystick. So what I want you to do is you go into solo play or group play, just to be safe, go into an open place of space and get a fairly maneuverable ship, something that's very agile, something like a Viper, a Cobra, or even better, a Sidewinder, and just take a couple of fingers, put them on top of your joystick, and just rotate the joystick with very little pressure and see how far it goes. How far it moves is called the dead zone, and what we want to do is basically reduce the amount of input that is not wanted. So basically, the weight of the hand on the joystick can cause some undesired movements, and we want to get rid of those, and that's what dead zone is for. So think of dead zone as a very small circle looking from the top down on your joystick, starting at the very center of your joystick pivot moment there, your pivot line, and moving outward and getting bigger as it goes outward. So the dead zone is basically the zone in which the inputs of the joystick are not processed. Now what we want to do is we want to make it a very specific amount to which we don't want the joystick to have any kind of input as long as you're not putting any pressure on it. If you have a joystick like mine where you need to actually put pressure on it to do anything, you know where the dead zone is, and you want to play with this while you're in the game to make sure that any unwanted input from the joystick is not counted, and basically it's not going to move your ship. That's going to be fairly important because sometimes you need to maneuver very carefully in this game, and even a slight miscalculation could end up costing you hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of credits. And of course, nobody likes insurance, right? You don't want to have to replace your ship, so this is very important. Take the time, go through your dead zones and all the different axes here, and figure out your specific setup with your specific joystick. Now, for those people who don't have a joystick, get one. You're going to need it to have an optimal experience. And you know what? I was using my mouse and keyboard for a while, and then I realized this is not working. Mouse and keyboard is just not going to give you the amount of control that you require. And when you go through the control section here, you can actually see that there are controls for a lot of things. You have thrusters that take you up and down, left and right, yawing left and right, as well as moving forward and backwards. These are all customizable, and depending on your system, if you have a HOTAS, or I believe it's called hands-off throttle and stick, I believe that's what it's called, then you're able to pretty much bind any of this to any of the buttons on your system. And I would very, very highly recommend that you take the time to go through here, because it is important. And to be honest with you, I tried using my joystick without setting up the dead zones, and it was very annoying to have a very slight movement of my joystick impacting the way that my ship moved. So I've got this all set up so that the dead zone is perfect for my joystick, where unrequired or unnecessary movements are not counted, and the actual inputs that I have with the pressure of my hand are. And it takes a little bit of time to get used to that, but once you get it, it's really, really cool, and it helps you out quite a lot, immerses you into your experience. So we'll get out of this menu, and other than that, we've got credits and save and exit. So this is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, make sure to leave a like. If it wasn't, go ahead and hit dislike and let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see in the future. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching. That's going to be it for today, and I'll see you very soon. Take care for now.